My dear friends, have you ever wondered why some days feel like they slip through our fingers, while other days make us feel unstoppable? We all have the same 24 hours, yet some people turn those hours into progress, peace, and purpose, while others turn them into pressure and procrastination. Today, I want to share something special with you, not just how to work harder, but how to become 100% productive by working with your mind, your energy, and your inner silence. Because true productivity begins not on your calendar, but inside your consciousness. There was a time in my life when I thought productivity meant doing more, running faster, and never slowing down. But the more I rushed, the more life slipped away. One day, I met an elderly gentleman who lived with such calmness, such clarity, such focus, that I asked him, "How do you do so much without looking tired?" He smiled and said, "Son, productivity is not in how fast you move, but in how deeply you are aligned with your purpose." That day, I realized that becoming 100% productive is not about pushing yourself endlessly. It's about training your mind, disciplining your attention, and living each day in harmony with the quiet guidance of the divine within you. Today, I want to show you how to transform your days from distracted to deeply meaningful, from noisy to internally peaceful, from running behind life to moving ahead with grace. My dear friends, there are days when we wake up and feel as if life is happening to us instead of happening through us. Days when we drift, when our mind keeps wondering, what am I really doing with my life? Why do these hours pass without meaning? Why does progress feel so far away? And the truth is, many people live in this silent confusion every single day. They wake up, check their phone, rush through routines, respond to messages, get pulled into the noise of the world, and before they even realize it, the day has already disappeared. And when night comes, they ask themselves, where did my day go? It went into wondering, not living. It went into reacting, not creating. It went into distractions, not direction. But a productive life begins the moment we shift from wondering about life to living with purpose every day. Imagine this: you are holding a cup of water with a small hole at the bottom. Drop by drop, the water keeps leaking. If you don't notice it early, the cup becomes empty. In the same way, our days leak through tiny holes of distraction, indecision, hesitation, and mindless habits. We think these things don't matter, but they quietly steal the richest hours of our life. But the moment you close those holes with clarity and purpose, your day becomes full again, full of energy, focus, joy, and meaning. And once the day becomes full, life becomes full. Let me share a simple example. There was a young man who woke up every day feeling frustrated. He had goals, but he never seemed to move toward them. Not because he was lazy, but because he didn't know what to focus on each day. Every morning he asked himself, "What should I do today?" And his mind wandered everywhere: social media, random thoughts, unnecessary conversations, worries about the past, anxieties about the future. His days were forever wandering. But one day, he decided to change one small habit. Before touching his phone, before speaking to anyone, before getting lost in the world, he sat with himself for just 3 minutes. And he asked, "What is one meaningful thing I want to complete today?" Just one thing. Not 10, not 20. One. And slowly his days changed. His energy changed. His direction changed. Because now he wasn't wandering through time. He was walking with intention. This is the secret. Many people miss. Productivity doesn't come from doing more. It comes from living with purpose. When you know what matters to you, distractions lose their power. When you know what you want, doubts lose their volume. When your day begins with meaning, your mind becomes your ally, not your enemy. Think about it. When you start your day with clarity, even obstacles feel easier. But when you start with confusion, even simple tasks feel heavy. Purpose is like the sun. Even if clouds come, the light is still there guiding you. It gives direction to your steps, strength to your decisions, and discipline to your habits. And the beautiful thing is, purpose doesn't have to be something huge. It can be something as small as finishing a chapter, helping someone, cleaning your environment, learning something new, or simply using your day consciously instead of carelessly. When you live with purpose, your day stops feeling accidental and starts feeling intentional. Another powerful shift happens when you stop saying, I will try, and begin saying, I will commit. Try creates wandering. Commit creates focus. When you're trying, your mind looks for excuses. When you're committed, your mind looks for solutions. Many people don't lack time, they lack commitment. And this commitment begins with understanding that your day is your life in micro form. How you live your day is how you live your life. If your days are full of wandering, your life will feel directionless. If your days are full of purpose, your life will feel meaningful. Let me share one more daily life example. Think of your phone battery. Imagine you never close unnecessary apps. They keep running in the background, silently draining your battery. Even if you're not actively using them, the power keeps slipping away. In the same way, mental apps like comparison, doubt, regret, overthinking, and fear keep running in the background of your mind. And they drain your productivity. When you start your day with purpose, you naturally close those background apps. You free up mental space. You create emotional clarity. You reclaim your inner power. My dear friends, in today's world, the greatest challenge is not the lack of opportunities. It is the overload of noise. Noise outside, noise inside, noise in our surroundings, and even noise in our thoughts. And the strange thing is, most people do not realize how much this noise steals from their peace, their clarity, and their productivity. You can have brilliant ideas, pure intentions, powerful dreams. But if your mind is droning in noise, you cannot hear your own potential calling you. That is why mastering the noise around you is not just a skill, it is a necessity for anyone who wants to live a meaningful and productive life. Noise is not always loud. Sometimes it comes in the form of constant notifications, the buzzing of messages, the flashing of screens, the endless scrolling that pulls you into other people's worlds while disconnecting you from your own. Sometimes the noise is emotional, people's opinions, judgments, expectations, and dramas that you unconsciously carry in your mind long after the conversation is over. And sometimes the noise is internal, overthinking, fear, doubt, comparison, regret, and worry. These forms of noise drain more energy than physical work. They exhaust you mentally before you even begin your day. Let me give you a very simple example from everyday life. Have you ever tried to listen to someone talking while the TV is playing loudly in the background, someone else is on a phone call, and children are running around? Even if the person in front of you is saying something important, you cannot absorb it because your environment is too noisy. In the same way, even if your mind is telling you something important, work on your dream, finish this task, focus here. You cannot hear it when life around you is too noisy. The noise of the world becomes stronger than the whisper of your own purpose. There was once a young woman who had big goals. She wanted to start a small business, improve her skills, and build a better future. But every day she found herself stuck in the same loop, waking up, scrolling through messages, checking social media, reacting to people, and getting pulled into conversations that didn't matter. By the end of the day, she felt drained without doing anything meaningful. One day she asked herself, "Why do I feel tired even though I haven't done much?" The answer was simply, she was spending her energy on noise, not growth. So she made one small change. Every morning, before touching her phone, she sat in silence for 5 minutes. 5 minutes only. She breathed deeply, grounded herself, and set an intention for the day. This tiny shift created a huge difference. For the first time, she began feeling her own mind. Her thoughts became clearer. Decisions became easier. Her productivity naturally improved. Because once you reduce external noise, your inner wisdom becomes louder. And this is the truth. Your mind already knows what you need to do, but the noise around you covers that wisdom like dust on a mirror. When you clean the noise, clarity appears. When clarity appears, confidence grows. And when confidence grows, productivity becomes effortless. Another everyday example. Imagine you are trying to drive a car in thick fog. You will move slowly, you will be scared of hitting something, and you will constantly hesitate. But once the fog clears, you drive smoothly and confidently. Noise is that fog. It slows you down, confuses you, and makes simple tasks feel heavy. But once you learn to silence the noise, even a little, your entire world becomes clearer. Mastering the noise also means mastering the people who create noise in your life. Not everyone around you understands your goals. Some people talk too much, complain too much, criticize too much, or argue too much. Their energy affects your energy. Their emotions disturb your emotions. Their chaos enters your mind. And you must understand, you are not obligated to absorb everyone's noise. You can choose silence. You can choose distance. You can choose boundaries. You can choose to protect your peace without feeling guilty. A powerful shift happens when you decide, not everything deserves my reaction. Not every sound deserves my attention. Not every person deserves unlimited access to my mental space. The day you make this decision, your productivity rises instantly because your energy stops leaking into unnecessary things. Noise also comes from the habit of reacting. When you react instantly to everything, a message, a notification, a comment, you are letting the world control your mind. Productivity begins when you control your attention, not when the world controls it. Imagine a candle flame in a windy room. It keeps flickering, struggling to stay stable. But place that candle in a calm space, and the flame burns tall and steady. Your mind is that flame. Your environment is the wind. Master the noise, and your inner flame becomes powerful. The most important truth is this: silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of clarity. When you learn to silence the noise, you begin hearing the voice of your own intuition. You begin understanding what your soul truly wants. You begin feeling aligned with your purpose. And aligned people are unstoppable. So, my dear friends, if you truly want to become productive, begin by mastering the noise around you. Reduce unnecessary conversations. Distance yourself from draining people. Limit your exposure to chaos. Protect your mornings. Give yourself moments of silence. Because every minute you spend in silence adds hours of clarity to your day. And when clarity rises, productivity becomes not just a practice, but your natural way of living. My dear friends, in a world that glorifies speed, volume, and constant communication, we have forgotten the quiet power of silence. People often misunderstand silence as emptiness, but in truth, silence is one of the richest experiences of human life. Silence is where wisdom speaks. Silence is where intuition awakens. Silence is where your connection with the divine becomes clear. It is not about being quiet on the outside, it is about creating stillness on the inside. When you learn to practice silence, you don't escape from the world, you begin to hear it more deeply. Let's think about this in simple daily life. Have you ever noticed what happens when your phone battery is almost dead and you plug it in for a few minutes of charging? Suddenly, that small break gives your phone enough energy to keep working again. Silence does the same for your mind and soul. Every day, your mind is bombarded with messages, thoughts, opinions, and emotions. Without silence, your inner battery drains. But the moment you sit in stillness, even for a few minutes, you recharge. You become more focused, more centered, more productive. There's a beautiful story of a young man who once visited a wise monk seeking advice. He said, "Master, I want peace. I want to feel balanced, but my mind never stops talking." The monk smiled and gave him a cup of tea. As he poured, the cup filled up and began to overflow. The young man quickly said, "Master, stop. The cup is full." The monk looked at him and said gently, "So is your mind." The young man was silent for a moment, understanding the message. Until your mind empties itself through silence, wisdom cannot enter. Silence is not just about avoiding words. It is about creating space for understanding. Look around you. Every masterpiece in life is born in silence. The painter sits quietly before the first stroke. The musician pauses before the first note, and nature itself works in silence. Flowers bloom quietly, the sun rises without noise, and trees grow without announcing their progress. Yet all of them achieve greatness without disturbance. If creation itself moves in silence, why do we think our lives must always be loud and busy to be meaningful? In daily life, silence helps us in ways we don't even notice. Imagine being in an argument with someone. In the heat of the moment, both people raise their voices trying to prove who's right. But the one who chooses silence, not weakness, but calm silence, gains control over the situation. Silence breaks the pattern of conflict. It gives space for understanding. It saves relationships. It transforms reactions into responses. When you're silent, you're not giving up, you're growing up. There's a beautiful moment many people miss: early morning before the world wakes up. That quiet hour has a sacred energy. It's the best time to connect with yourself and with the divine. In that stillness, ideas flow, clarity comes, and the mind feels light. That is why so many great thinkers, saints, and leaders value morning silence, not for ritual, but for renewal. It's not just a habit, it's healing. It teaches you that the loudest answers often come in the quietest moments. Practicing silence doesn't mean you have to go to the mountains or live alone. It simply means creating small islands of stillness within your daily ocean of noise. When you wake up, spend a few minutes without touching your phone. Sit, breathe, and just be. When you're walking, listen not to music but to your own thoughts. When you eat, focus only on your food. When you finish your day, sit in quiet gratitude. These tiny pauses are not wasted time. They are sacred investments. They bring peace to your heart, power to your mind, and presence to your life. Silence also reveals what we hide from ourselves. When we are constantly surrounded by noise, we run away from our emotions. We distract ourselves from pain, from confusion, from fear. But when you sit in silence, you begin to understand those feelings, heal them, and release them. Silence becomes your therapist, your teacher, your mirror. It shows you what words cannot. That is why silence can be uncomfortable for many people. because in silence you meet your truth. But if you have the courage to sit with it, that same silence becomes your greatest source of strength. Another beautiful thing about silence is that it increases your sensitivity to life. You start noticing the small things, the sound of the wind, the rhythm of your breath, the kindness in someone's voice, the beauty in a simple sunset. You begin to experience life in high definition. You no longer rush through moments, you live them. Silence expands your awareness beyond the surface. You stop reacting and start observing. You stop chasing and start receiving. And when you receive life with awareness, you become naturally more productive because your actions are rooted in clarity, not chaos. So, my dear friends, the next time you feel lost, overwhelmed, or disconnected, don't rush to fix everything through noise. Just pause, close your eyes, breathe deeply, sit with yourself in silence. You don't have to do anything, simply be. You'll be surprised how much power you find there. Because silence doesn't take you away from life, it brings you closer to it. It doesn't empty you, it fills you with peace. It doesn't make you less expressive, it makes your words more meaningful. Silence is not a weakness to hide from the world, it is a strength that helps you face it gracefully. The more you practice silence, the more your mind becomes steady, and your heart becomes peaceful, and your life becomes productive. When you can carry silence within you, no amount of noise outside can disturb your calm. And that calmness, that sacred inner quiet, becomes your greatest strength in a world that never stops talking. My dear friends, one of the most common traps we fall into is the pursuit of perfection. We look at the world, at others' achievements, at the polished outcomes, and we tell ourselves, I must do it perfectly, or it's not worth doing at all. But here's the truth: perfection is a mirage. It is an illusion that keeps us frozen, waiting, and endlessly comparing. Productivity does not come from perfection, it comes from progress. The small, consistent steps we take every day, imperfect, messy, human, are what build greatness over time. The desire for perfection often paralyzes us, while progress moves us forward, even if imperfectly. Let me share an everyday example that most of us can relate to. A young woman wanted to write a book. She imagined the perfect opening sentence, the perfect chapter structure, the perfect plot. But every day, she stared at the blank page, frozen, unable to write a single word. Months passed, then years, and the book remained a dream. One day, a mentor told her, don't wait to write perfectly. Write something, anything, then refine it. The next day, she wrote just one paragraph, messy, awkward, not polished, but it was a start, and that one small step sparked momentum. She wrote another paragraph the next day, then another. Months later, she finished the book. Not perfect, but alive, real, and impactful. If she had waited for perfection, she would never have finished. Progress, not perfection, made her productive. In life, we often focus on what's missing rather than what's possible. We compare ourselves with others, obsess over every tiny detail, and wait for the right moment. Meanwhile, time slips away. But every small action you take, no matter how imperfect, compounds over time. Planting one seed doesn't give you a tree instantly, but watering it daily, little by little, brings a forest. Similarly, each imperfect step you take toward your goal grows into something extraordinary if nurtured consistently. Consider the way we learn new skills. No child learns to walk perfectly on the first attempt. There are stumbles, falls, scraped knees, and frustration. Yet every fall teaches balance, every mistake teaches adjustment, and eventually, walking becomes effortless. Productivity in life works the same way. Every effort, even if flawed, teaches you, shapes you, and prepares you for greater success. Waiting for perfection only delays the growth that imperfection naturally provides. Another powerful daily life example comes from relationships. Many people wait to be the perfect friend or perfect partner before they reach out, help, or express love. They hesitate because they feel their words are insufficient, their actions inadequate. But it is progress that builds connection, not perfection. One kind gesture, even imperfectly executed, strengthens bonds. One honest conversation, even if awkward, nurtures trust. Waiting for perfection in relationships only creates distance. Small, consistent efforts build intimacy and understanding. Progress also teaches resilience. When you take action without the burden of perfection, failures become lessons, not judgments. You begin to see mistakes as part of the journey rather than proof of inadequacy. This mindset frees your energy to focus on action rather than fear. People who wait for perfection are often exhausted by worry, whereas those who pursue progress are energized by motion. Movement, even small and imperfect, always leads to growth. Think about your daily routines. How often do we avoid starting something because we fear doing it the wrong way? Cooking a new recipe, exercising, starting a project, learning a skill. Hesitation often comes from our desire to be perfect. But productivity grows when you simply start. Mistakes in execution are not failures, they are part of learning. A chef doesn't wait to make the perfect dish, they practice, taste, adjust, and improve. Life works the same way. Every attempt you make adds experience, insight, and momentum. Perfection also steals joy. When we chase an unattainable ideal, we rarely celebrate our efforts. We discount progress because it is imperfect, and in doing so, we miss the beauty of growth. Productivity is not a race to perfection, it is the rhythm of progress. Every small win, every tiny forward step deserves recognition. It motivates you to continue, inspires you to do more, and creates a sense of accomplishment that fuels your energy for the next step. One final thought: progress is liberating. It allows you to focus on action rather than fear, on learning rather than judgment, and on growth rather than comparison. Productivity is not measured by how flawlessly you perform, but by how consistently you move forward. It is the sum of all small, imperfect efforts compounded over time. Every day you take a step, even if imperfectly, you build momentum. Every day you choose progress over perfection, you reclaim hours, energy, and purpose that would otherwise be lost to hesitation. So, my dear friends, stop waiting for perfection. Stop letting fear of imperfection rob you of action. Choose progress instead. Take the first step, even if it's messy. Write the first paragraph, make the first call, do the first task, move, learn, adjust, and move again. Productivity does not demand perfection, it demands persistence, patience, and courage. Progress, no matter how small, is what transforms your life. One imperfect action taken consistently is worth 1,000 perfect intentions left unfulfilled. Let today be the day you embrace progress, and let every step forward, however imperfect, bring you closer to your highest potential.